Every civilization has a place where its story began. Mars did not welcome explorers. It challenged every law of human survival. The outer worlds that once challenged humanity have become thriving frontiers.
The first people who came here knew one mistake, one broken machine, or one failed harvest could mean the end of everything. Once nothing more than scattered rocks drifting through space, this region has become one of the busiest crossroads in human history. Every wall they built, every drop of water they saved, every seed they planted, was another battle won against an entire planet.
And patience. This is not the story of how humanity survives. This is the story of how humanity Mars offered no forests, no rivers, not even the smallest sign that life had ever belonged here. Without a magnetic shield, the sky itself became one of the greatest dangers humanity had ever faced. Even the sunrise brought no warmth. Every morning began with another battle against the cold. Some storms on Mars lasted not for hours, but for months, swallowing an entire world in darkness. On Mars, survival depended on electricity. When the power faded, hope faded with it.
On Earth, water flowed without thought.
Hidden beneath billions of years of dust, Mars had been protecting the resource humanity needed most. Humanity could not wait for Mars to create air, so it built machines that would breathe for an entire planet. The first garden on Mars produced more than food. It reminded humanity what home felt like. This was not yet a civilization. It was only the first fragile heartbeat of humanity on a planet that still refused to surrender. The first city on Mars did not begin with skyscrapers. The safest home on Mars was not built above the surface. It disappeared beneath it. For years, humanity's entire world on Mars existed beneath a ceiling of steel. On Mars, civilization was measured not by buildings, but by the machines that allowed every heartbeat to continue. Before humanity built roads beneath the sky, it built them beneath the ground. Mars had already built the strongest shelters imaginable. Humanity only needed to discover them. The first true neighborhood on Mars was hidden beneath a mountain of stone. The day Mars began building itself, humanity stopped depending on Earth. Inside that fragile dome, humanity experienced its first glimpse of a future Mars. Long before Mars became humanity's greatest city, it became humanity's greatest act of perseverance. The first city on Mars was never threatened by war. It was threatened by thirst. The water humanity needed had never disappeared. It had simply been waiting beneath the surface. Hidden beneath a world of dust, Mars had quietly preserved the foundation of its own future. Every block of ice carried through these tunnels meant another neighborhood, another family, another future. For the first time in Martian history, water no longer represented survival alone. It represented possibility. Every civilization is built upon a river. On Mars, roads connected cities, but water connected civilization. When the first river began to flow, Mars no longer felt like another planet.
The moment water became abundant, the dream of building cities became real.
Humanity did not discover rivers on Mars. It created them. And with every river came the promise of a new world.
Water gave humanity life, but air would give Mars a future.
For the first time in history, humanity was teaching an entire planet how to breathe.
One factory could save a colony. 10,000 factories could change a planet.
Every breath future generations would take began inside rooms like these.
The first breath taken without a helmet was remembered as one of the greatest moments in human history. Changing a planet required more than courage. It required changing the sky itself.
Long before forests appeared, invisible pioneers quietly prepared the world for life.
Terraforming was never a single invention. It was millions of small victories repeated for generations.
For the first time in billions of years,
Mars cast a shadow made by clouds. History would remember this moment not as the day humanity conquered Mars, but as the day Mars began to breathe.
Mars had water. Mars had air. But one invisible enemy still threatened every human life.
One powerful solar storm could deliver more radiation in hours than early settlers could safely endure in months.
The safest city on Mars was the one hidden beneath the planet itself. Mars did not merely shelter humanity. It became humanity's shield.
If Mars had no magnetic shield, humanity would build one.
For the first time in billions of years, Mars possessed something it had lost. A shield protecting an entire planet demanded guardians that never slept.
The lessons learned protecting Mars would one day protect humanity across the entire galaxy. The greatest engineering achievement is often the one people no longer notice, because it simply keeps them safe. Humanity did not change Mars by fighting against the planet. It changed Mars by protecting the life that would one day call it home.
No civilization can truly call a planet home until it can feed itself.
Technology did not replace the farmer. It allowed every farmer to grow an entire forest.
On Mars, farms no longer spread across the land. They reached toward the sky. Every seed planted on Mars carried thousands of years of knowledge and the hope of countless future harvests.
The first orchard on Mars did more than produce fruit. It reminded humanity that beauty is just as essential as survival.
For the first time, every meal served on Mars came entirely from Mars itself.
Mars was no longer producing food simply to survive. It was producing abundance. The day plants survived outside their domes, the future of Mars changed forever.
Every harvest celebrated more than food. It celebrated humanity's victory over impossibility.
A civilization becomes eternal when it no longer depends on another world to feed its people. Building a city was no longer enough. Humanity had made an even greater decision: to change an entire planet.
The first step toward a living world began at the coldest place on Mars.
Terraforming was measured not in years, but in generations.
Before forests could rise, the smallest forms of life. These were not simply trees. They were the first citizens of a new Mars. For the first time since Mars lost its ancient climate, the sky began to change. For the first time since Mars lost its ancient climate, the sky began to change. The rivers of Mars were no longer engineered. They had become part of nature itself.
This was the breath humanity had been waiting centuries to take.
Mars was no longer the red planet. It had become humanity's second blue world. For centuries, humanity had created water. But today, Mars would create its own. One raindrop became a storm, and one storm became the promise of an entirely new world. The canyons that once carried only dust now carried life. Once Mars could sustain life, humanity was finally ready to build a civilization. The city that would one day inspire the galaxy began with a single foundation laid upon Martian soil. Cities are not built in a day. They are built by generations who believe the future is worth creating. A great city is measured not by its skyline, but by the lives its people are free to live. For the first time, space itself became only another destination on the daily journey to work. Humanity had not merely built another city. It had created a beacon for every civilization that would one day follow. Mars did not become humanity's greatest city because it was easy to build. Every civilization remembers its kings, but the greatest civilizations remember their builders. The greatest gift Mars gave the future was not technology. It was a generation that believed no world was beyond reach. Mars was never humanity's final destination. It was the launch pad for every world that came after. Every great journey begins with a single step, and every interstellar civilization began with one planet that refused to remain impossible.
The story of Mars was never about conquering another world.